What's up, everybody?
My name is Anthony Irvin.
You beat yourself?
Yeah,
Yeah, CB myself.
Yeah. Okay.
I'm Jim Green.
Don't even need a hit of traffic light.
Okay, good.
Welcome to
One set. Okay, I think I'm ready now.
You know what I hadn't had in a while? Big League Chew.
Yeah, me neither.
I'm sure you can find it places still. Do they still sell it though, right?
I mean, I haven't gone out of my way to look for it.
Exactly.
So.
I mean, I haven't gone really out of the way to look for it. I mean, I'm sure if you go to I don't even think it's like a vintage. It's not even a vintage type of candy at this point. I mean, probably for us, but I'm sure you can. If not buy it, you can probably buy it online or something. But in store, I mean, I don't know if any like candy stores might really carry them unless they're more sports oriented. But
I used to get them at the Family Dollar.
Yeah,
Like,
for sure.
At the dollar store, and like, I think CVS and like your like local drugstores that had candy would have them, but I haven't seen it.
Yeah, the times that I've been in the Walgreens the last couple times, I mean, not that I've been looking, but you don't usually see it. Like when you're at the cash register, you have a whole big line of chocolate and candy. You usually don't see Big League Chew in there. So I'm not sure if they carry it anymore or anything. But yeah, definitely like the dollar stores would have loads of that stuff. Like that, Airheads and Warheads, all those awesome candies back then.
Yeah, I used to like the Fun Dip.
Yeah, that was good.
A sugar stick and powdered sugar.
Literally just sugar.
Just sugar on sugar on sugar, man. Like, just wild stuff.
Dude, Warheads were awesome.
Warheads were pretty good. I always really liked the bubble tape. Remember the little disc that you could open up and the tape was rolled up into like tape?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Bubble tape, man.
Right, yeah, that was good too.
I used to love bubble tape.
Because at least you had something to store it in, so you just like rip it off, kind of like literally tape. You rip it off, you save it for later.
That's it.
Perfect.
Yeah, dude, perfect. Dude, yeah, literally.
Yeah.
And it wasn't like a little packet of gum that like would get squashed in your pocket. Like you had to carry the disc with you, so your pockets had to be big enough to carry it. But you
can make that last a good bit, though. I mean, depending on how much you had at one sitting, but you can make that last a good bit.
Yeah, if you're not crazy and you're just like, I'm gonna eat half of this at once,
right?
Yeah,
yeah, you can at least probably make it last maybe a week, depending if you have maybe one or two a day. But if you're having like little strips of it, but if you're having the whole like half, then yeah, you're gonna be done in a day or two.
Yeah, definitely. Anth, how was your weekend, man?
It was good. We celebrated our 10-year wedding anniversary. We went to the melting pot. This is what I wanted to talk about too. Okay, so here we go. So I talked to you about the melting pot.
Mm-hmm.
When you went to the melting pot, did you go there for the food and dessert or just dessert?
I went for both. Like,
okay.
I had dinner and dessert.
What did you think of it?
I mean, super good. It's kind of crazy to me that it has been as long as I think it's been. It's been at least, God, I want to say it's been at least 15 years or more since I've last been there.
Yeah.
I know you were texting me about it later last week. And I was like, dude, I can't even tell you. I've been there once. And it was really good. And it's not even like it's far from home. I don't know. Like I would definitely go back. It's just.
Yeah. We went the last time it was our first year. We went for our first year anniversary, so
Okay.
roughly about 9-10 years ago. But we only went for dessert. I think we went to another restaurant, then went for dessert after.
Okay.
So we were like, let's just go. We'll have dinner there. We'll have the dessert. 2 packs, so we don't have to go to 2 different places. So we never experienced any of the dinner portion. So we're like, all right, what do you want? We'll do the whole package deal, like that first like 2-course 2-person meal.
Mhm.
And we picked our favorites, and the selections were pretty cool because you had like enough where it's like steak, chicken, seafood, and then enough where it's like, okay, if you want to get really crazy, you have a lot of different things. Like I had a mixture of duck, teriyaki chicken, shrimp, tuna, and these pot sticker chicken things. And I think Jen had a mixture of shrimp, teriyaki chicken. What else did she have? She had another thing of steak and something else. I forget what she had. So, and she, like I said, she's more of like a pickier eater than I am. Like I'll try mostly anything, and sometimes like once, and if I don't like it, I'll never try it again. But I'll be more willing to try something instead of being like, nah, I won't even try it, even if I'd never tried it before.
Sure.
So I've never had duck before, and I'm like, well, I figure they're small portions because they're not going to give you a full plate of each of these items.
Right.
So then they're trying to tell you like, okay, so basically, what's the cooking style that you want for them? And in my head, that confused me at first, and I'm like, okay, I mean, you should be able to just cook it the way you want, so it comes out perfect the way I need to eat it. But whatever. So they had like the 4 different styles. And have you ever wanted to start your podcast but didn't know where to start? The One Set Bros are here to talk to you about Zencastr. Zencastr is the ultimate-based podcasting solution, and now the all-in-one podcasting platform, making podcasting easy. They've sure made it easy for us to be able to record our podcast and our episodes every week for you guys. Once you've set up your account, you're simply one click away from recording a high-quality podcast with studio-quality sound and up to 4K video with your guests. My personal favorite feature is their multi-layered backups, which ensure our recordings are always in the highest quality, even during unstable web connections. And if you thought you needed multiple tools and services for your podcast, Zencastr's all-in-one podcasting platform allows you to create your podcast all in one place and distribute to Spotify, Apple, and other major destinations. Go to zencastr.com/pricing and use our code OneSetPod, and you'll get 30% off your first month of any Zencastr paid plan. I want you to have the same easy experiences we do with all our podcasting and content needs. It's time to share your story. So we picked this one style, and the waiter, who was pretty cool, just gave us like his recommendations and all. And so we went and did that. So we're having our, little appetizer stuff, and out comes the dinner meal, and everything's just raw meat.
Yeah. They cook it right there.
And I didn't realize that. I literally like, are you guys realize you're giving us like raw food, right? I'm like, you need to cook this. Whoopsie. But I'm like, oh wait, this thing's sitting in front of us. I'm like, wait, what's this soup here? I'm like, oh, we gotta cook this.
Yeah.
So I'm like, good thing we didn't come with an appetite. So I'm just like busting on all this stuff. Like, okay, 2 to 5 minutes. I'm just taking these skewers and putting like little pieces in this soup concoction.
Mm-hmm.
But all in all, it was a fun experience because we don't get to really go out and do stuff like that. I mean, it's different than your traditional Olive Garden, stuff where it's like a, your typical 5-star, if you consider Olive Garden a 5-star, but, we don't get to really have fancy dinners like that.
Right.
So, we were talking like that would be a pretty hard first date type of thing.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, if... Yeah, that's definitely not a first date restaurant to go to. It is definitely more upscale. That is like a down the road kind of thing.
Yeah.
Like you said, if like Olive Garden is kind of like a use that as like a, geez, what's the word I'm looking for here?
Almost like a starter.
Yeah, I'm trying to say the thing and make it make sense.
Yeah, I can't find the word for it, but I think I know what you mean.
Yeah, if you take that scale of restaurants like Olive Garden, like your TGI Fridays, like I I would say Outback is definitely like a step up from Applebee's. Like
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I feel like Applebee's is like the step one of like restaurants graduating from say like an upscale fast food joint like a Chipotle or a Panera kind of thing, right?
Right.
You go to like, Applebee's is like level one, and then I would put Outback, Macaroni Grill, TGI Fridays, things like that.
Yeah.
Fridays might actually be sitting down here with Applebee's, but yeah, Olive Garden, just they're Italian. It's good for that level tier that it's on, right? But Melting Pot is easily like another level or two above that. Like,
yeah.
for sure. For sure.
I mean, I was telling Jen, I'm like, I mean, yeah, it's probably not the best first date, but it probably could be good to know, because if you know your partner can't cook a steak that is supposed to be cooked in about 2 to 5 minutes, if you burn a steak that's supposed to be made in like 2 to 5 minutes, you know you're probably not going to have a really good long life with that person.
Yeah, yeah, that's right.
Like if you can't cook a little mini piece of steak and you burn that, I don't see this working out.
Yeah. You gotta go.
You gotta go. Check, please.
Yeah. Yeah, see you never. Block caller. Yeah.
Right. All because I couldn't cook? Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that's basic life skills right there. You gotta know how to do a steak, man.
Exactly. But and you see, world of the internet, I didn't make it one gender. I said for both male and female, so don't catch me in those words of like, well usually the woman's supposed to be cooking, so did you mean there was a woman? Like, no, I mean men too.
Nah, I mean,
because I couldn't cook until I moved out.
right. I mean,
but then again, I mean, when you're living on your own, it's kind of cause and effect. I mean, you either figure it out or you're going to starve, or you just go somewhere. But I mean, I'm not the type of person that, I mean, I don't mind eating out, but I don't like eating out every single meal.
yeah, I mean, and it also depends on how savvy that you are with cooking and grilling kind of thing.
Yeah.
I have learned to like prepare more food in the past 3 years since I met Cheyenne, but Cheyenne has known how to do it. She's lived on her own for like the past 10 years practically.
Yeah. Does she like cooking, or is it kind of just like...
Oh, she loves it. I mean,
awesome.
Especially where we were living before, we didn't just have free reign of the kitchen because there were 4 other people living in the house, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's been one of the best things moving in here is just kitchen access whenever we want. And she's prepared food like almost every day because it was one of the things that she really missed when we weren't living on our own kind of thing.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, it's been super nice. Just seeing her in her element, prepping food, and I've been helping. I'm not saying that she's doing all of it.
Yeah.
But she is more savvy. She has just more experience making food and really enjoys it. And I can prepare food. I just haven't had to enough that I'm like, all right, what do we want? And like, I can just like bang it out like that. Like,
right.
I can grill a steak. I know how to cook a steak. Okay.
I can, but I've also been like, I can be better at it.
Mm-hmm.
Because like I'll just, do the typical, you marinate it in either barbecue sauce or A1 sauce or maybe a little bit of a mixture. Mm-hmm. I'll marinate it for like overnight, and then I'll just throw it on a grill or one of the what do you call them? Not the little pre-made grills that you, not the actual like grill, but almost like not a cast iron, but
like a griddle.
Yeah, something like a griddle. Yeah.
Yeah, we just had burgers from the griddle tonight, and I was like, first time she's used the griddle since we lived in our last apartment together, and these were 2 huge, juicy burger patties.
Nice.
And she also put some turkey bacon on the griddle next to the burger patties. So we had a little turkey bacon with the burgers.
Nice.
And she got this massive sweet potato. And we haven't had sweet potatoes really. I think I actually had it. She made it for my birthday this year, but before that, it had been like she used to make them at the old apartment, a lot. That was super good, and then just some broccoli. But I was like, this is it right here. This piece of, like, because we used to get food out like a lot. Again, just not a whole lot of access to the kitchen to cook.
And especially since you guys are, just newly moved out again, you guys aren't even thinking about like, eating out. You're just like, hey, we just want a home cooked meal for like, a good 80-20% of the time.
Yeah. It's pretty much been that. I think we got food out when we were at my recital this past Saturday.
Right.
We stopped out and got dinner because the recital had like almost 70 dances in it. So it was like a 4-hour show.
Yeah.
I had to be there early for some like setup type stuff. I had to stay after to help break down some things, and load them into trucks and things of that nature. And it was just like, do you want to just stop somewhere and get something? Cause like just having Cheyenne like was sitting through the show, which is one thing. I was backstage trying to help. So I was like, I was doing things on the background. So I was just like, I don't think either of us want to go home and like make food right now.
Yeah.
We don't have like our crock pot set up yet, and that's something that she wants to do. Because
crock pot meals are so good.
Yeah. And that could have been something where if we were already settled in and had that set up, we could have just said, okay, let's just put this in a crock pot and let it like cook on low while we're at the recital all day. Yeah. And then come home and it's already there. We don't have it here yet.
Dude, I've been getting this annoying itching feeling under my armpits from the deodorants I've been trying and using, and I can't seem to find something that works for me.
Have you ever tried maybe like a natural deodorant?
Natural deodorant? No. Are you insane?
No. But I am Wild.
Oh,
Wild is the UK's #1 natural deodorant company that focuses on performance, sustainability, and style.
Their mission is to clean up the bathrooms by leaving it free of ugly, single-use plastic bottles and unnecessary chemicals.
You know why Wild is great? Because it actually works and it's eco-friendly and contains over 98.5% natural ingredients.
They have a fully sustainable design with aluminum cases that last for a lifetime, plus biodegradable, recyclable refills. And you know what's cool? They can actually imprint your name on these aluminum cases for a small additional fee.
Wild is super convenient with flexible subscription options or paying as one-off purchases. And you can customize your order by choosing your case, color, and various scent combinations. I know I have the Ocean Mist, the Fresh Cotton and Sea Salt, and the Orange and Neroli flavors, and they all smell super great. And what's best about them is they don't just wear off immediately, and then all of a sudden, you smell like BO.
Yeah, I've been rocking the sandalwood and patchouli scent right now. And again, great scent, lasts like throughout the day, that you're pretty much protected throughout the day. And I also was able to try the mint and aloe vera. Big aloe vera fan, right on point, long lasting, and you can look forward to these cases and scents in a limited edition every month.
Go wild today with a special discount of 25% off your first order when you get the code OneSetPod at checkout. Go to wearewild.com and use the code OneSetPod at checkout and enjoy.
Gotcha.
But that's coming in time. I also, my teaching schedule now that 2 of my studios recitals were this past weekend, I am actually around in the evenings more so, like either of us making dinner type thing, or collaboratively prepping dinner. It's something we're trying to take advantage of, because once like September rolls around again, I will be gone in the evenings throughout the week. So she'll be prepping dinner, or we'll already have the crock pot thing lined up. Like she's always been super good about having something made, or I'm like, hey, if you're not feeling up to it tonight, I'll just do some leftovers when I get home, like just something super quick, no problem. But yeah, that's been, I mean, it's been great. That's been a huge step up for sure. And just, yeah, getting to the kitchen it's super close, right? So
right,
if we need anything from the fridge, or if we want a snack or something, we don't have to, where we lived before, we were upstairs most of the time, and then we'd have to go all the way down to the kitchen to get food. So it's just nice that it's like pretty much right there. I mean, you don't hang out upstairs at all during the day, really, right? Like,
not during the day much. I mean, it's just more at night. You know, when we get home, it's more we'll hang out in the den, the kitchen. If Anthony wants to go outside, we'll, go out on the deck or the front yard and everything. And
so you stay on the first floor, basically.
Most of the time, yeah. And then, so the bedrooms are, either sleeping, hanging out before bedtime,
Right.
Prepping for showers, prepping the kids for showers and everything. So not much like hang time. Unless like for a specific reason or something. But I definitely know what you mean about the whole, like, when you're doing a long day, the last thing you want to do when you get home is start cooking something. Because we were in Jersey yesterday. I was helping Jen's mom getting her air conditions in her windows. She has 2 window units that I help her with. And
they're
whoopsie,
they man.
Like they weren't too bad, but the last year we had a problem with it because I didn't realize it was tilting one way, and the condensation in the water was the water was dipping. It dipped right into the house, so I had to reattach it and do the whole like shimmy and get it at the right way. So thankfully this year we made sure that if we were going to tilt it, we're going to tilt it outside the house so that that water wasn't going to come back into the house. So thankfully there hasn't been any water this year, but and it was Grayson's first time going to Joan's house, so it was fun.
That's cool.
And we haven't been to Jersey since last year,
yeah,
because we with having the baby, going through the whole last couple of months, getting him established and everything, so it's been pretty busy. So we actually got some time to go to Jersey, hang out there. We went to PJ's, watched the Phillies play a little bit, and so when we were getting home, the last thing we want to do is cook. So let's just Anth, what do you want for dinner? He's like, Old McDonald's.
Old McDonald's.
Like, okay, Mickey D's. There you go.
I love it. I love him.
His one-liners are getting so good. It's so funny. And him and Grayson in the last week or two, he's been having this moment of I have a brother in this house now. I have another person in this house, and he's been clicking to Ant so much, watching anything he does. So I'm like, oh, this is gonna be so good. This is the time where he's gonna be watching everything he does. So like their relationship now is like starting to really,
Take
bloom
off.
it, really starting to take off. Yeah. So it's cool to see.
I love that. I love that for you. I love that for them. I love it for Jen. I love it for all of you, man. That's great.
Yeah. It's awesome because, it's funny because, Grayson, he has no sense of like touch and feel. Like he'll, we'll try to get Grayson to like, hug Anthony or get up in front, and then Grayson will like touch his hair and he'll rip it, like, pull his hair, and then Ant's like, oh, Grayson pulled my hair. Like, well, he didn't mean it. He's like, can you tell him to say sorry? I'm like, he can't say that, buddy. Like,
he
like
doesn't,
Grayson, what do you say? Like,
he doesn't know language yet. Like,
he
doesn't know sensory motor skills. Like he's still learning about like grabbing and pulling kind of thing.
Yeah. And he's just been such like a happy-go-lucky, 5-month-old, and we're recording this tonight. Still it's tonight, 6/10. So he's 5 months old today.
Mm-hmm.
So it's crazy how fast these 5 months have gone.
Mm-hmm.
So and just everything, from 5 months of what he's been from, and always trying to not necessarily compare, but kind of seeing like how the 5 months were for Anthony, and just kind of comparing and contrasting, their milestones and everything. Because Grayson just started within the last week. We started giving him actual like real food, like rice and cereal, like baby food and everything. So he's starting to get introduced to it. So it's not necessarily like part of like his caloric intake. It's more just for introduction into what he likes, what he doesn't like, if he has allergic reaction to it.
Right.
So he's still having his bottle feedings, and that's like his main source of his nutrition still up until about maybe next month. Then the foods will start to get a little bit more, and the bottles will start going backwards,
start weaning off of the bottle a little bit.
Yeah. So he thankfully hasn't had any, crazy reactions. He's been, doing pretty good with all the food, and, he's been eating like a horse. So
I love it.
So it's good.
I love that. I love to hear all that good stuff for your little man.
In the most part, it was a decently, relaxing weekend for the most. It's good that we were able to celebrate 10 years because, in logistics, not many people, always see 10 years in a marriage,
True.
Especially with like the, divorce rates and everything, and how just people just, grow apart. So if you're 10 years into a marriage, that's, and not saying anybody, like, we don't have a perfect marriage. We have our ups and downs just like anybody.
Sure.
But, just to say you still like 10 years married, that's definitely a milestone to, say the least.
Yeah. Definite accomplishment, and congrats to the both of you for pushing through your tough times, because everybody has them, and you guys are still going strong. That's big stuff, man. Happy for the both of you, obviously.
Thank you. Yeah. And she had fun last week doing the pod and everything. And she's usually not one to be on camera, have a microphone, because she's like, well, I don't want a microphone. I'm like, well, you got it. You gotta have to have like some type of vocal type of thing for you. But she's like, all right, well, I'm not gonna say much. And I'm like, all right, cool. By the time it starts going, you're gonna be fine. And took a couple minutes for her to just kind of relax and everything. And if you guys have watched, she kind of just starts becoming her own and getting into her own and everything. So we'll definitely have to do another watch along, and maybe the four of us will get on and do something. That'll be fun.
Yeah, I haven't watched it yet. Again, thank you to Jen for filling in for me last week, just with the recitals and everything, and still getting settled in here.
Yeah.
And I know 90 Day Fiancé is a show that Cheyenne loves. So we're just trying to catch time together where we want to sit and watch that, and actually do the watch along that you and Jen did, to catch you guys' commentary along with it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I figured, because the episode, like the 90 Day Fiancé episode, is actually like an hour and a half, right? Just about.
Yeah. So if you're watching the actual episode live when it airs on Sundays, it's a 2-hour episode with commercials. But when you do it on Max, it's really an hour and a half. So you're just cutting out all the commercials, the half-hour
Sure.
commercials.
Which is
So
great.
which was really good for us because I was thinking, okay, it's better that we just do it on Max, so then it's just an hour and a half, and it just cuts through. There's no ads or anything; it just goes right through the episode. You can kind of tell where they do commercial breaks, but it just goes right into the next scene and stuff.
Right.
So it kind of worked out for the whole thing that we were able to just go right through, and it was only an hour and a half, and it's pretty much around the same time of what we do, hour and a half sometimes.
And fortunately, both kids stayed in bed while you were doing that, right?
Oh, thank God. Yeah, we were like, we said in the beginning, like, hey, if the kids wake up, we'll pause this, but you guys probably won't even notice because we'll just cut it out here and there. But they stayed asleep the whole time. So that was our anniversary gift. So from the kids. So we'll take it.
I mean, you're talking about like 2 hours uninterrupted at home with the kids asleep like that. I'm sure is like a godsend that you guys don't get that much time like that, right?
Yeah, because when it's a good night when they both sleep through the night, because usually sometimes it'll be one night Grayson will wake up, and then the other night Grayson will be asleep and Anthony wakes up, and then it'll be reverse, and then go back and forth, and then very rarely, one will wake up. And then the other one wakes up like right after it. And you're like, oh God, like, okay, you get him, I'll get him, get them back to sleep, blah, blah, blah. But, and then you're just a zombie in the morning. But, it is what it is. That's what you sign up for. So
yeah. Yowie wowie. But like that.
Yowie wowie indeed.
Most parents talk about like the kids getting up super early, like way earlier than they need to. And
oh yeah,
it's like, what are you going to do? You roll along with it. You tell them to go back to bed, or you're up and then you're miserable for a part of the day because you didn't get good sleep. And then
usually Anth will just come in and he'll want to either come in around like 4 or 5 o'clock. Like last night, he came in the room at like 4 o'clock. And we're like, nope. It's not. Wait until 6 o'clock. You're not coming in. And so I put him back into his room. He was fine. And then right on the dot, 6 o'clock comes right in. And can I watch TV? Like, no. During the school weeks, we usually don't do TV in the mornings.
Nice.
But weekends, that's fine. Well, if he comes in, we're like, can we turn on TV? All right, cool. Because if he watches TV, that gives us maybe an extra 20 minutes, 30 minutes of sleep while he's watching TV. Unless he's jumping all over you. But
now, does he watch TV like in your bedroom with you? Okay.
Yeah. So we'll just flip it on. We'll flip on one of the Disney channels or something. He'll watch it for a little bit. And then until he's like, I want to go downstairs. We look at the, and sometimes it'll be like 20 minutes later, or sometimes it'll be like 10 minutes. Like, all right, come on. Then you got to bring him downstairs, and he'll want to watch the same show he was watching in our room. He'll want to watch that downstairs. So
yeah, but he's got all of his toys down there, right? Like,
absolutely.
Yeah.
So, and then, there's times if Grayson wakes up during the night, then sometimes he'll sleep through that time, and he'll, if it's during the week, sometimes we'll, wake him up at a certain time, or if he's had a rough night, we'll just let him sleep through, and we'll just bring him to daycare in his pajamas, and they'll just, get him all ready for the day there, instead of having to really just wake up a, cranky baby at the morning.
Sure.
So it's something new every day, but
just navigating different avenues, because it's not going to be the same day back to back.
No,
usually,
no,
like it's
absolutely not.
It's always interesting, right?
And the thing is, they just like any parent will probably say, the kids don't care if they're going to come in. They're going to come in. Like they can care less if you're tired.
Yeah,
but then again, you and I did the same thing to our parents, so it just kind of comes back tenfold.
Yeah, I mean, I usually woke up between 7 and 7:30 as a kid. Like I didn't wake up before 7 unless if it was like Christmas morning and I was waking up super early.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, but on a any given day, I was usually somewhere between 7 and 7:30 almost every morning. But yeah, I don't think I started sleeping in past 10 until maybe middle school, and in high school there were definitely weekend days where I'd stay up until 3, 4, 5 in the morning, and I'd sleep in past noon. But I gotta say, after I graduated high school, there weren't a lot of times that I slept in past noon. What about you? Like
I like a Saturday morning. Yeah, in high school, I was a sleeper. I would usually sleep in till like sometimes 11, 12 o'clock.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then you get your day started, blah, 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 be out at night, do the whole teenager thing. But yeah, I now it's to the point where I can't. Before kids, I wouldn't be able to, sleep past 9 o'clock.
Mm-hmm.
Now I don't sleep past like 7 o'clock.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it slowly goes back down.
Yeah. I mean, I probably, on a day where I don't have to get up to do anything specifically, it's rare that I'll wake up past 9.
Mm-hmm.
I generally will wake up somewhere between 7:30 and 8:30. If it's past 9, I think I can remember one time in the past 6 months that I might have slept until 10. And again, I know I don't have any kids, so that's obviously a little bit easier on my end if my schedule allows for it. But typically, the latest I'm sleeping in is like 8:30. But more times than not, I'm up between 7:30 and 8. And right. sometimes I'll wake up at 7, and then I'll fall back asleep 7:45, and then I'll wake up at like 9:15 or 9:30. But that was more so like a few months ago. That hasn't really happened lately. I know we're talking about our sleeping schedules. It's such an interesting topic, right?
Yeah. Boring.
Oh, boring.
Snooze fest.
Yes.
No pun.
Fest. Yes. All the puns. Yeah. Do we want to jump into some WWE talk, or?
Yeah, I was just gonna say, since we haven't done it in a little bit, and we have a big PLE coming this weekend. Tomorrow, when this airs, it'll be tomorrow. The Clash of the Castle. So we have the card pulled up on both our pages. So we just wanted to, quickly run through the card, give our predictions, just like we usually do, because we know we have, a wrestling little community that we have through the last couple months going through our big WrestleMania stage. So we definitely want to, get back into a little bit more wrestling with you guys. And, on another thing that's non-wrestling, I'm not sure if we want to talk. We can definitely talk about this at another time because, we're obviously big Game of Thrones people. But this Sunday, not only is Father's Day for everybody, but it's the start of the second season of House of the Dragon. So I'm stoked because there looks like it's going to be a big, big season.
Yeah, I think so. We watched season 1, episodes 1 and 2, a couple days ago, and then we watched one episode yesterday.
Okay.
And then one episode today. So we're gonna be able to, I think, get one episode in every day, which will get us through season 1 by Saturday, and then we'll be able to just roll right into season 2 on Sunday. So I'm looking forward to that because it'll all be pretty fresh, right?
Yeah. I did the same thing last week. I basically went through the whole, like, throughout last week, did the whole season 1. I thought it was going to take me a little bit longer, but me going through TV series, I'm like, okay, I gotta keep on watching because I get so interested in it again.
Mhm.
So I went through season 1 last week from like Tuesday to Friday, and then
What'd you get in, like 2 episodes a day?
usually 2 episodes a day.
Yeah, because I mean they're long and they're involved. It's a lot of storytelling going on.
And there was a lot of other things again that watching it. I think that was maybe the 3rd or 4th time that I went through the whole season. So
Okay.
again, there's more things that I pitched out and saw. I'm like, oh, I didn't realize that. And, just picking out little small things because, the Game of Thrones thing is always like the little details you have to pay attention to.
Easter eggs, right?
Yeah.
Little Easter eggs.
Especially the children this time. Like the first couple times it was hard to pick out the character changes with the kids. The adults were very easy, obviously, but the kids had 2 significant changes in the later episodes, and it was hard to pick out who was who when those characters changed. So, but it was good that they kept it within those first 5 minutes to let you know, okay, this character went through a little bit of a change, so this is him, this is her, and blah blah blah. So going through it again.
All the time jumps because they jump like 5 or 10 years at a time sometimes.
Right, yeah. So, I mean, I know a lot of people didn't like it, but I think they did a good job of, at least within those first couple minutes of that episode, if there was a time change to get you back up to speed, if you were paying attention, there were dedicated lines within those first couple minutes saying like, oh, yeah, this is like within the last 2 years. So, okay, then there's a 2-year gap between the last episode and this episode, or they're giving you some type of idea to know there's been a significant jump within, I think there was a 2-year jump, then like a 5 or 6 year jump between certain things. So, yeah, I think they did pretty well with that. I know that's been the whole thing about the series that, they didn't like the time jumps, but I thought they handled it pretty well.
Yeah, I think so too. I just think that people weren't expecting so many of the time jumps.
Yeah.
So it really took people like aback as they were first watching it. I know it did me, and I was like, okay, just like you got to try to keep up with it. But then I think in the last 3 or 4 episodes, I think the third to last is like it's 10 episodes, right? I think it's episodes 8.
Season 1 was 10 episodes.
Yeah. I think episodes 8, 9, and 10 were all basically like supposed to be the same time.
Yeah.
I think episodes, like we just finished episode 4, but I'm pretty sure episode 5, there's a pretty big jump.
Yeah.
I think it's a 10-year jump because we just found out that Rhaenyra has to get married to Corlys.
Yeah. I think after episode 2, there was the first 2-year time jump because that's when
Alicent and Viserys
get married and they have
a baby.
Yeah, they have their first son.
Yep.
So I think there was that first 2-year gap, and then like you said, season 5, that was when Rhaenyra and Alicent did their time jump of becoming adults and everything, and then the kids had their time jump too.
The kids are all somewhat older, and then Rhaenyra has like 3 kids, and that's when the big kid dynamic really starts.
And then I think 6 or 7, another kid time jump went.
Mm-hmm.
And then everybody was pretty much from like 7 all the way up until the end of the season. We're pretty much there.
Yeah. Yeah, that sounds right.
Yeah. So, yeah, we'll get more into that. We'll probably wait until the whole season is done, and we can, like we did with season 1, we'll wait until the whole season is done. We'll give our, full rundown of the season and everything instead of kind of doing, maybe every once in a while we'll give a small, update on what we think of how the season's going. But
Yeah,
at the end of the season, we'll give a full rundown of what we thought.
Yeah, the whole episode will be dedicated to our reaction to the whole season 2, and I agree with you. I think it's going to be epic, man. I think it's going to be really good.
We're definitely gonna have a lot of dragon battle. I think we're gonna have 1 or 2 dragon battles in this too, so it's gonna be awesome.
Yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah. So let's get to this card.
Okay.
5 matches. Let's just go from 1 to 5 if you want.
Yeah, I'm on Wikipedia, so I'm just gonna go.
Okay.
I'm gonna go from what's listed as number 5.
Yeah, okay, that's what I was gonna do too. Yeah, so I was just gonna change that. So yeah, because that looks like that's gonna be the opener. So we'll go from 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
That's fine.
So the number 5 match that they have is Bianca Belair, Jade Cargill, and Alba Fry. And these are the 2 people that were on Raw tonight, which they look decent. I mean, they kind of didn't make them look pretty well, but I thought they were pretty cool. And then Shayna Baszler and Zoe Stark. So that's a triple threat match for the women's tag team titles. So
yeah, curious because triple threat rules are no disqualification. I don't know if that applies to tag matches or not, though. I'm not totally.
Yeah, I'm not sure if they really do that much like the disqualifications for tag matches anymore. Unless it's not for women, but
it's tough because I know Alba Fire and Isla Dawn are from Scotland, where like Clash is being held at.
Yeah. So they're getting their little, hometown.
They're getting their hometown match, but I mean, I can't see them taking the belts off of Bianca and Jade yet. I think you have to. I think you have to have like a formidable women's tag team, take it off of them. And I don't. The only thing I can see is if one of the other teams do win, it's because they're pinning the other team. Like Bianca and Jade, neither of them are eating a pinfall, right?
No. Yeah, if they lose, it would be one of the other 2 teams getting pinned for the win. Yeah.
I don't think they're going to break up Bianca and Jade yet because
not yet.
People are just enjoying them together and it's good because obviously they are going to feud down the line.
Absolutely.
And there's no need to spoil that just yet.
They got a lot of time to build that. So I think they're still, again, they're still a pretty new tag team. So they're just going to run with it for a little bit. And yeah.
I think, however they wind up losing the title is going to be what causes the split and start to turn the wheel for the feud to build itself.
Yeah.
Like that's tag team 101. Like,
yep.
If it's not a tag team that's built as a tag team, like for Jade and Bianca, they are singles competitors that just so happen to be teaming up together now. It's like Randy Orton and Matt Riddle, like they were destined to eventually have the split and face each other kind of thing, right? Before
now, again, I haven't been watching, but and not that this is much of a care, but I know Naomi was kind of formed with Bianca and Jade. Did she get injured or did they just kind of kick the bucket to Naomi and be like, all right, we're just rolling with these 2, you guys?
Yeah.
Do you know what happened?
It was Naomi. They had her facing Bailey like after WrestleMania on SmackDown.
Okay.
But then Tiffany Stratton was entering the scene. So Naomi just kind of transitioned over to like being involved with Tiffany Stratton and Bailey. And then,
okay.
I mean,
then she probably got mixed up with the draft then, most likely then, maybe.
Yeah. Or they were like, the 3 of them made such good sense for WrestleMania. So it's all good. But I think having Bianca and Jade, just the 2 of them, you don't need Naomi in the mix because she is, I don't want to say old news, but she isn't going to be in the mix for another title run or anything like that. Let's be serious, right?
Exactly. That's why I'm like, it's not much of a care, but yeah, I could have seen it being like, okay, well, she probably just got mixed in with the draft. You just go to SmackDown, they'll stay, on Raw. So yeah, so I don't think Bianca and Jade are going anywhere. I think they obviously retain this one. Easy win for these two.
Yeah, I think that Bianca and Jade were both drafted to SmackDown, but since they've won the tag titles, they've been just kind of jumping back and forth on both brands because
Gotcha.
There's a like the men's tag titles, there's a Raw and a SmackDown one, but for the women's, I think that they're just going with like, yeah, well, they can just show up on whatever show. Like they've done that with the women's tag titles before, and I'm totally okay with that.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think it actually helps the women's division as a whole.
Definitely.
But yeah, Alba Fire and Isla Dawn, I just think that they're too new. Like, I think they're just getting into this match because they are going to Scotland.
Mm-hmm.
Shayna Baszler and Zoe Stark, I think they're fine together as a tag team, but I don't need to see them holding the belts and defending against people.
No.
Yeah,
they work together really well, but I don't see them holding the title anytime soon, if anything, or being a contender for a possible title run with that.
Yeah, I think they might have held the tag titles like once, but it was not very long, kind of thing.
Probably, yeah.
I'm just going with Bianca and Jade retaining here. I don't see them taking those belts off them for a little while, and it's got to be a tag team that makes absolute sense. For me, they have been teasing. I think they just teased on SmackDown this past week. Not that I caught it because I was at recital. But they did tease a Tiffany Stratton Nia Jax alliance, and people are like, "Oh, I think that might actually work." Like people are like, "I could see this working." Not that it makes Nia Jax relevant, but it makes her a little bit more tolerable just because her tagging in and out with someone does a little bit better for me than watching her in a whole singles match together. I'm just like, I just feel like she's like any big wrestler like Kane, where did he win titles? Yes, but they were very short title reigns. He was just kind of there to be the big wrestler in the ring.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So I feel like Nia is just there to be the big bully, and like you kind of think, hey, maybe Nia is gonna win this match because like in a real life scenario, like as far as believability, I'm really, really fumbling some words here tonight and really not grabbing onto them. So sorry about that. Credibility. I mean, as far as like if you just put them size by size to have a fight, like Nia Jax will probably actually crush most of the women's division, right?
Right. Definitely.
So I do think it stinks to have her pose as a big threat and just always get beaten. So I actually like her entering the tag scene, and if you had her and Tiffany Stratton tag together, I don't think that's a bad idea to have those two take the belts off of Jade and Bianca, because they could go on like a heel tag run, and it overall I think would help give Tiffany Stratton a little bit more ring experience. Not that I think that she's bad in the ring. I think she's great in the ring, but I don't know if they're going to push her into a main title scene just yet. They did just introduce the Women's North American Championship on NXT Battleground last night.
Yeah, so, I saw that it was last night. I didn't catch it.
Yeah,
so I'm definitely going to have to rewatch it.
I didn't either. I know for sure. Well, they crowned the inaugural Women's North American title.
Great.
In a multi-woman ladder match, which from the highlights looked pretty good.
Yeah, there were definitely some good highlights in that. So I'll definitely want to check that out.
And then I think all of the other title defenses, the champion retained. We had, I think the big deal here was like the TNA crossovers that like just kind of happened in the past couple weeks where we learned, okay, they're actually bringing more TNA people into NXT.
Yeah.
Which is cool. It's like,
yeah,
it's pretty cool to see. The question is, do we get Nick Nemeth, Dolph Ziggler in NXT after he leaves WWE and goes to TNA, and then now there is a deal between TNA and WWE?
Right.
Just imagine.
Now you want me, okay?
Yeah.
I think eventually we might get some, talent kind of coming back in through those, Forbidden Door type of things, because I think we've said this before that, I mean, there's so many opportunities and so many, branches of wrestling now. There's no reason why we can't have things that are going down like that. Some TNA people doing some one-off things on NXT, or some, people coming from, AEW and switch. Like, obviously, I don't think we're going to get AEW and WWE working together anytime soon. But I would like to say in the future, you can have some like crossover things here and there, almost like the WCW and WWE type of things. That would be cool to really witness. Like a takeover, some AEW stars take over WWE, and it gets into like the better brand and blah blah blah, stuff like that. Almost like a pre-Attitude Era type of thing. That would be cool eventually to go down like that. Because I mean, again, you get eyes on their brand, you get eyes on WWE. It's a win-win.
It's great cross promoting, man.
Yeah,
and like really,
I really don't think anybody's gonna have an argument with that.
You're giving the real wrestling fans what we deserve. I mean,
yeah.
I have seen people say if they're ever going to do it, they should do it now, because
at the height of, everybody's into wrestling again.
I mean, the star power
yeah.
is just, now granted, there isn't a ton of it in AEW right now, and like they are struggling like a lot.
Yeah.
But they have the ties with New Japan, and like they do the whole Forbidden Door event that basically is like, okay, this is going to be crossover New Japan AEW, and it brings a lot of eyes to the product, man. Like I don't see why you can't find ways to get Kenny Omega at WrestleMania.
Yeah.
Like I don't know how you can't figure out to make that a sensible situation.
Yeah.
Like,
I mean, if Hunter's the person we think he is, I think eventually he could probably come to terms. Like, if you can reach an agreement where the money's right, the time's right with something, they should be able to make it work. And, do little one-offs here and there. We're not saying like, we have to see this every week or every month, every year, just, even if it's like a Royal Rumble thing, like having them, cross over in Royal Rumbles or Survivor Series or like a War Games type of thing situation, again, giving the fans what they want, and, giving, dream matches a possibility,
Yeah.
Let's get to the next one. So we got Cody Rhodes and AJ Styles in the I Quit match for the undisputed WWE Championship.
And again, I think a lot of why people aren't caring about Cody Rhodes' title reign right now is because we expect him to hold the title for a while, and they're just giving us matches that are like there to be there.
Yeah,
which is fine. I mean, I haven't even seen the first Cody and AJ match, but I heard it was good.
I didn't either.
His match with Logan Paul, I did see that, right?
We did. I think so.
Yeah, and again, I was just like, there's no way that they're gonna have Logan Paul beat Cody Rhodes just 2 months after he beat Roman Reigns finally.
Yeah.
Like, come on. And I think all eyes are Cody is holding the title until The Rock comes back, and then we're not sure what they're doing with that, right?
Right.
So, yeah, just a lack of interest in Cody matches because I know he's retaining. There were a few Roman matches that I definitely missed because I was like, okay, he's definitely not losing this. So,
Yeah, it got to that point where, like, yeah, I mean, he's, again, just like that whole thing. We know he's going to be retaining it for a certain amount of time, so it's almost the same thing on Cody. We know he's just he's not a transitional champion, but it almost seems it because we know, like you said, we know it's going to get to the point where when The Rock comes back, those two are going to be battling it out eventually, and we're going to get something going. So, but we don't know what it's going to happen. So they're just going to throw a lot of people at Cody. He's going to retain. He'll have the matches where, you know, it's going to be very, very close and he's looking like he's going to lose it, but he eventually wins it at the end, either by a disqualification that goes in his favor or something that happens. Somebody gets, you know, taken out, kind of like the Jey Uso thing. It was, you know, Jimmy, you know, costing Jay the match and stuff like that. Then it goes into another feud with somebody else, but Cody will just, you know, continue to retain. So, but I think it's going to be a good match, and I liked how AJ played the Mark Henry card with, you know, the John Cena bit.
Yeah, you were messaging me 2 weeks ago. It was, well, by the time this comes out, it'll have been 2 weeks. Yeah, because he did you text me and you were like, looks like AJ might retire, and I was like, that usually sets up for an angle. And
you gave me the little eye, like, yeah. I'm like, oh yeah, I see, because when right before he picked up the mic, he's kind of like looking up, and you can kind of see the emotion in his face. He's like, okay, here we go. And I'm like, ooh, okay, that doesn't sound good. Right. Usually when you see that, you're like, okay, he's getting ready to say something. But then, you know, as the speech started going, you're like, okay, this might be an angle. Then when he calls out Cody, I'm like, yep, here we go. He's bringing out Cody. They're gonna have a little moment, and just like they had the moment. Cody raises AJ's hand. AJ, knocks out Cody.
Yeah,
and here we are.
Dude, that Styles clash off of the ring steps to the floor on the outside,
so good.
Yeah. I mean, when you watch it back in slow-mo, it looks like Cody's forehead bounces off the steps. It's so bad.
I'll have to rewatch that just to see that now.
It's so bad. But overall, the spot was good. AJ made sure he dove out and away from the steps to make sure, Cody's head was protected. A great spot just because we haven't seen him do that ever, right? And probably because people were like, yeah, no, I'm absolutely not taking that bump.
Yeah.
But Cody's like, yeah, let's do something different.
Right.
And that's why he's Cody. That's why he's as good as he is.
So
I am
Cody.
I am looking forward to see how they book the finish. Because I quit matches are always interesting when it comes to that, right? But they don't tend to do them. They don't tend to do a lot of them.
No, they don't.
Which I'm totally good with. Because you have to book the finish to be interesting. Otherwise, it's just kind of like, okay, they beat each other to a pulp and finally, come on. I forfeit.
Okay, I forfeit. Yeah.
Sami Zayn is defending the IC title against Chad Gable again. And Chad Gable's contract is coming up soon. So it just seems weird to me that they would be doing this monster heel turn for Gable, for him to not win the belt from Sami. And that,
I heard that Gable is, close to getting agreement to signing a contract. So I mean, I don't see him going anywhere, but I wouldn't be surprised if Gable gets the belt off him, but I think Otis is going to turn on Gable, and that's how we're going to get Sammy winning it. For sure.
I mean, it certainly seems like that, like the way that they build it on Raw tonight.
Especially on Raw tonight, yeah. And you've been kind of seeing that's how it's going to go because it's been Chad and Otis going back and forth the last couple of weeks. And then tonight was the first time Otis really gave in and let his emotions fly a little bit, but still resisted at the last moment for, good television and everything. But yeah, I could definitely see Otis taking out Gable at the last minute or causing him, the 1, 2, 3 pin, causing him to get out of the ring or something.
Yep.
And Samuel will retain.
Yeah. I mean, I'm down with it. It seems like that whole storyline with Alpha Academy, it's working to help get Otis over again.
Yeah.
Because he was super over, and then they threw the Money in the Bank briefcase on him, and then everyone was just like, "This isn't this isn't for real, right?"
Right. Like, we like you, but not that much.
Yeah.
No. But yeah, it is cool to kind of see him getting a little bit more praise again, because it was like the old days of those times where he was doing the whole Mandy Rose thing with himself, and so. Yeah, I that's how I see it going down. That Chad's gonna get beat up by Otis, or some type of way with Otis is gonna interfere with Chad winning the title off of Sammy. Sammy gets the pin, and that'll be that. So I think I see Sammy retaining, but on the other end, I wouldn't be mad at Chad Gable winning. But my money would be on Sammy retaining.
Yeah, and again, this goes with Gunther held the IC title for as long as he did, and Sammy actually beat him, right? So for Sammy to have beat him, now granted, it was with Chad Gable's coaching. So for Chad to beat Sammy, I think it's inevitable that it should happen. But I'm just not sure if they pull the trigger on that just yet, because like you said, I think Otis can get involved and cause Chad Gable the match. So you're going with Sammy?
I'm going with Sammy on that one.
I will go with Chad Gable as just like a surprise, like, oh wow, they did actually do that.
Yeah, I got my little surprise one for later, and I obviously think we're going to agree on that for later.
Okay.
So Bayley versus Piper Niven, or Dewdrop. I think this is a pretty easy one too. I think Bayley's obviously retaining this. I mean, she hasn't really been doing much, kind of like Cody, but I haven't really been paying attention to her since she won at Mania. And again, Fridays are always really hard for SmackDown for me anyway, unless I'm just already home. But, I don't see Piper getting, a championship run right now on any type of cost. So I think this is going to be the same thing that Bayley's going to be holding this title until someone like Charlotte comes back, or somebody of that level comes back to face her, and then it's going to be like, okay, Bayley might lose it now.
Yeah. Or you have Nia Jax actually beat Bayley, which
that would be the only other person I would say right now. Well, if they really want to put Nia Jax on the belt, Bayley will get beat by Nia Jax at like SummerSlam or something.
Well, and Nia won the Queen of the Ring, so she gets her match at SummerSlam.
Yeah.
And I think well, we have Gunther facing the Raw World Champion at SummerSlam also, which we'll get to who we think that will be in a moment. But again, Piper Niven is from Scotland, which is where Clash at the Castle is. So again, I think it's more so just a way to get Piper Niven like a big match in her home country.
Yep, absolutely.
So,
which I'm all for. It's cool to kind of say, I mean, you're on a big event in your hometown, just like any other sporting event for a person. They always want to, be able to play in their hometown in front of a big audience. So it'll be a cool little moment for her. I'm sure they'll give her a nice little entrance of some sort.
Well, that was like Rhea headlining
in Austria,
in Perth, right?
Yeah,
for the Elimination Chamber against Nia back in February. Yeah. I mean that was such a cool thing for Rhea.
Definitely.
Yeah, I have Bayley retaining here for sure,
100%. So the last one, which is Damian Priest versus Drew McIntyre for the World Heavyweight Championship. So I think we're both on the same boat that we think this is where Drew regains the championship and he's going to hold it for a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, it's a little silly just because you did have Damian cash in, but he won his first world championship at WrestleMania. You have him now as, when he loses, whether it is Saturday, which I tend to believe that Drew is getting his moment here.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just a matter of what do you do with Damian Priest after that? Do you break up the Judgment Day because there's already dissension there because Rhea's out, Dom is distracted with the Liv Morgan stuff. You have Carlito in the mix, which he's not like actually a member of the Judgment Day, but he's tagging along, like literally was tagging along with the Judgment Day in the 6-man tag match tonight. But I do think that we might get a Judgment Day break coming sooner than later, just because I think Drew's got to have his moment here. I mean, he needed to have it and beat Roman at the first Clash of the Castle.
Yeah.
And that was the debut of Solo Sikoa, right?
Correct.
Yeah. So, I mean, you have him going against Damian Priest. For him to lose in Scotland to Damian Priest, to me, would be a total slap in the face. And I think Drew's been through enough, and he's been doing so great right now. It's like, pull the trigger and put the belt on this guy. And just...
I think he's been doing his best work. The only way that I see this going another way is if CM Punk causes him the belt again.
Yeah, I just honestly don't see CM Punk going to Scotland just to do that.
I mean, I'd rather that not happen, and I'd rather, Drew win the belt, and then we get CM Punk after, and that kind of starts the feud between them two. Because and then Punk has, the chase with Drew. Then we get them down at, obviously you'll have Gunther at SummerSlam. If he can get through Gunther at SummerSlam, then we can start probably talking about, Drew and CM Punk down the line.
Yeah, I mean, if anything, I think you have Drew win the belt, and then you can have CM Punk cost Drew the match so that you get the belt on the Gunther.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because I mean, I don't know. I think maybe what they do is have CM Punk try to screw Drew, and everyone thinks, oh my God, Gunther's going to win. But then Drew outsmarts CM Punk and is able to retain against Gunther, or something that CM Punk does inadvertently causes Gunther the match. That way he's protected.
Yeah.
Drew keeps the belt. Drew can go to CM Punk like, you tried to tear me down, but I'm one step ahead of you now. And
I was thinking the same thing could probably happen with the Damian Priest thing match too. He could kind of come out and everybody thinks that CM Punk's going to cause Drew the match, but he's one step ahead of the game. He actually takes out Punk and wins against Damian.
Right.
But again, they could save that for the SummerSlam match too.
Yeah, and I think ultimately it's just, do we do we get Drew holding the belt through SummerSlam, and then are they really going to do that feud in the fall, and then have CM Punk wind up taking the belt from Drew, and then are we building the CM Punk versus Seth Rollins for next year's WrestleMania, or do you get the triple threat with Drew and Seth and CM Punk, because they've all been tied together?
I can kind of see that happening at this point.
Kind of this whole time, right?
Mm-hmm.
You have plenty of layers. Becky Lynch is gone, by the way.
Yeah, which, I mean, I'm okay with. Let her be a mom. Let her take that time off. I think she's deserved it with everything that she's gone through in the last, 5 years or so. So she's done a hell of a job. Give her props. Give her some, at least a year off. Let her cool off. Because, like I've told you, I think the man persona has, faded. And I know she tried to kind of bring it back in the last year, but it's like nothing's going to top when she was in the prime of that thing.
Yeah, I was just thinking more so for like if we were to get an AJ Lee and Becky situation, that ship has sailed because Becky is now gone, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I think if they were going for Seth Rollins and CM Punk for WrestleMania 40, had Punk not gotten injured, with Becky still around, you could have probably gotten AJ Lee at WrestleMania and gotten her involved with that matchup somehow.
Right.
But now with Becky gone, you have Drew in the mix because of Seth Rollins' injury, right? So I think that triple threat is probably the way to go, because I think the three of them are just going to be working with each other, after Punk is back, and then you have the Punk and Drew feud with the title there, and then you have Seth come back, and he's got reason to go after Drew and after Punk, so it just seems like a perfect storm there.
Absolutely.
I'm just like, with Seth being out for so long, I feel like the feud with Punk and Drew is just going to get even more interesting than what we ever thought CM Punk and Seth Rollins might have been. Yeah, I think Drew McIntyre has done a stellar job with making the CM Punk feud feel like captivating television, right?
Definitely. So I'd say Drew gets this. He gets his moment. I again, the only way I don't see him getting is if CM Punk, doesn't allow it. But like you said, I don't think they bring CM Punk all the way to Scotland to do that. But I would like to see Drew get his moment here, because he was kind of robbed of his moment at WrestleMania, which we all know he deserved. But you get the whole thing. You get it because it had to kind of build a little bit with CM Punk and everything. So Damian Priest gets his WrestleMania moment along with that. But I think we know he wasn't gonna be a very long champion. So it was almost the same thing. We knew Becky wasn't going to be wasn't going to be holding that title very long. It was gonna make Liv look better to win it
by pinning Becky.
Mania. She has to pin Becky in order to look more relevant in order to do that. So now she's doing her job, what she's been wanting to do. So I think with Drew, coming back off of what happened in WrestleMania, he comes in, defeats Damian Priest, and he gets his moment. So
yeah, and not for nothing, I think Liv Morgan now with the title and doing all of the good storytelling that she's doing with Dom and all of that, and
yes,
the match with Rhea once Rhea returns is going to be epic.
Fire, absolute
fire. I think people are going to look forward to that match more than they did the Rhea and Becky match at Mania, because I mean, that match on paper had been basically penciled in for a year. It was like, okay, that is definitely happening. Once Rhea beat Charlotte at WrestleMania 39, and we were like, Rhea is taking that belt probably all the way through next WrestleMania. Let her and Becky have the match together that we've been waiting for, and let Rhea beat Becky. And that's what happened. I was like,
Yep.
this has to have been their plan all along.
Yeah.
I mean, had Rhea not gotten injured, I don't know how long it would have taken to have Liv Morgan actually win the belt. I think it would have happened.
Yeah, it's probably not this quickly. Absolutely not.
Yeah, so that might have been a SummerSlam thing, right?
Yeah, I was just going to say maybe SummerSlam, but I don't think it would have happened this soon.
Yeah, so now with Rhea out and they have her, off with Dom and doing what they're doing there, I don't see how you don't have Liv versus Rhea at WrestleMania 41. Like, that is the big story around that title. Like, it makes sense.
Definitely.
Or you have Rhea cost Liv the title, and then you can have that match without the title at WrestleMania, and it is important that people will care about it. And again, we talked on here a couple of times about how women's matches at WrestleMania won't need titles to like make it feel WrestleMania worthy.
Yeah.
That's the feud right there. That's
because you can do like the custody for Dom type of match type of thing.
Yeah,
so,
exactly.
That everybody's, kind of laughing about. But I mean, that would be funny to do it in that type of way.
Yeah.
But yeah, because eventually Dom is going to give in to Liv, and it's going to come back on Rhea. So he's going to be torn between Rhea and Liv. So he's going to have to choose somebody. So that's how that's going to go down.
Yep. Yeah. I mean,
again, that would be cool to see, the first match between Liv and Rhea, and then, Dom is coming out with Rhea because, he's like, I'm sorry, blah, blah, blah. And he's, on her side. But then he turns on Rhea, allowing Liv to retain it from Rhea. And then they get to match 2. And that's when Rhea gets it.
Yeah. Yeah, I'd be good with that.
Because then you get more of Dom's story, kind of, because if you're really trying to eventually, hopefully at that point, Judgment Day is already going to be somewhat broken up, and then the Rhea Dom is going to be like that last little bit that needs to break up.
Mm-hmm.
That can be that last little stuff to be like, okay, they're going to break up. Dom's going to be doing his own thing to get himself acquainted into a singles person. And then Rhea eventually, wins the title back on the second chance. And then she'll be back to doing her championship reign. Finn, Damian, if they eventually get into some type of feud, which I can see too.
Yeah, definitely.
Down the line for sure, because those little, things have been, put out too, that they are kind of not seeing eye to eye, but they're also playing it off like, okay, you're cool, I'm cool with you. But in the back of their heads, like they're kind of butting heads too. So that's going to come out.
Yep.
So
yeah, I think it's just a matter of like, what do you do with JD McDonough without the Judgment Day, right? Like, he's just like the little Weasley guy.
Wash away from me. Wash away.
Wash away. Wash away. Wash away. Yeah, I mean, I could care less about him. I think he's great in the ring. And I think he's a great part of the Judgment Day just to get someone new in there and give the faction a little bit more dynamic. But like, it's just one of those, like, you have to build him to make him feel important without needing the Judgment Day there to carry him, kind of thing.
100%.
Anything else about the pay-per-view? Because there is another thing that I want to talk about, that we have to talk about.
Yeah, let's do that. I think we hit the pay-per-view. I think we were pretty much on the same page throughout the whole thing, except the Sammy and Chad. Everything else is pretty much down the middle.
I think there's a good shot that Sammy retains it. I'm just picking that match to say, okay, I'm going to go with like just to say that we have one pick that's different kind of thing.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I was like, if I am wrong about Chad winning, it's not going to hurt my ego or anything.
Nah, absolutely not.
Okay. Ricochet.
Let's talk about that for a minute. Yeah.
Yeah. So our guy Ricochet apparently
The news.
the news says that he has given his notice that when his contract ends, he will not be returning to the company, right? So the last time that something like this happened would be Dean Ambrose, right?
Yeah.
Where they actually made that public, right? Like they talked about it on WWE TV. Like the commentators were all saying Dean Ambrose is not renewing his contract. Like they were just, that's not something that they'd ever do if like you knew people weren't re-signing with the company. They didn't talk about it on TV. Like,
right.
The people who follow along on the internet, they just knew like they were leaving. So the Dean Ambrose thing was the first time for me that they really played into like the not re-signing the contract situation.
Mm-hmm.
This would be the second one that I really know of. And everybody said, okay, let's see how they write Ricochet off of TV. And I was like, some people think it's going to be as soon as tonight. I really don't know. And sure enough.
But was just thinking that, yeah, I mean, pretty much they wrote him off with the Bron Breakker thing. But it could just be the time he needs to kind of just like, you know, cool off. People somewhat forget about him a little bit. Because you can let the contract go void, and then they get a new contract, and then he comes back, does a big return, and he's back in. You know, because we've seen that before too, where wrestlers will wait until that last day, and then they just re-sign from that instead of re-signing before their expired current contract.
Yeah, I think the one big thing with the angle tonight, Anth, that like really has me questioning it is they actually had Samantha Irvin like play into it on TV, and I'm like, okay. The only thing that will really have me thinking like he's not leaving is if they have Bron Breakker attacking, not physically attacking her, but like taunting her on TV about how he took Ricochet out.
Yeah.
That to me means Ricochet is going to be coming back. And
yeah. If they just basically don't reference anything of what happened tonight, Bron Breakker just continues to move forward, then
then Ricochet is probably gone.
Done. Yeah. But if Bron Breakker uses that as fuel to be like, hey, and starts taunting Samantha here and there, say like, I took out your fiance, blah blah blah, and so that can kind of be a thing that obviously Ricochet is going to come back eventually, and get that revenge.
And then we could, if we had that feud in the fall. Okay.
Tackling fuel. That would be a good feud. Bron Breakker versus Ricochet.
For the fall specifically, like
definitely,
it would really keep our interest. So it's June now. Let's say Ricochet is just off TV. Bron is taunting Samantha Irvin for the next 2 months, and then it's SummerSlam, and maybe it's the Raw before SummerSlam, and Ricochet just comes out and starts wailing on Bron Breakker, and then like that by itself, all they have to do is announce the match for SummerSlam that Saturday, and everyone will be like, oh,
whoopsie,
they added this match, and let's say it's a no disqualification match or like a new DQ or something crazy.
Yeah.
Or I don't know, because I don't really see them going this way. I was thinking if for some reason Bron Breakker wound up with the briefcase, and then you could have Ricochet come back, and then they could do a ladder match for the briefcase at SummerSlam. but I don't think they're giving the Money in the Bank to Bron Breakker. I just
Nah.
I think it's going to be probably Jey Uso. Yeah, I don't know. I think we talked.
Yeah, I don't know at this point, but I mean, he could be in the match. But yeah, I would say Jey Uso might be a good contender for that this year too.
Yeah, they have some people announced, or no, they're having qualifying matches for it starting next Monday. I think is what.
Okay.
Because they're going to get through Clash on Saturday, and then after Clash is over, then it's like, okay, all eyes on Money in the Bank, and then they'll do the qualifying matches on TV, and then we'll be making our predictions for who we think are winning that once that's coming up. And really, Money in the Bank is not far away.
That's next month, so it might be my birthday weekend or the week after.
It's literally Clashes this Saturday, and then 3 Saturdays after July 6th is Money in the Bank. So
okay, so it's July 4th weekend then. Okay,
we're getting 3 Raws and 3 SmackDowns to build to Money in the Bank, and that's it. So you have qualifying matches the first week on Raw and SmackDown, and then on the second week you have your final qualifying matches, and then you just have the third week to have the people that actually qualified in the match to make the match feel like it has feuds involved within it, rather than it's just 6 guys in the ladder match for the briefcase. But you actually have mini feuds that are tied into the match itself to make it more dynamic, right?
Correct. So looks like we're going to be getting some good, wrestling stuff. So we'll definitely be putting back on our wrestling talk within these coming months to keep you guys updated on our thoughts on the wrestling world. Again, we kind of took a little bit of time off and gave a little bit of, our ideas in the last couple of months since WrestleMania. But I think now that we're in the summer months, we got, obviously Money in the Bank. We got Clash of the Castle this weekend. We're leading into SummerSlam, so maybe we might do a little, thing for SummerSlam to get us ready for SummerSlam. We usually don't do that, so maybe we'll do something like that this year. And now that, we were going to do something for the Mike Tyson and Jake Paul, but now that got moved all the way to November. That was actually going to be on my birthday, so we were planning to try to do a series for that.
We had something really cool lined up. Like I pitched it to Anthony, and he was like, "Dude, I love this." And that was
we had a really cool thing going. So we'll probably do it. It'll probably just have to be pushed. We'll push it back to like October, November, to where it's. I think they said November 15th, I believe. So we'll try to plan it out around then for when it goes. Yep. So we'll fit in some stuff. We'll put in some more wrestling ideas, and if you guys have any ideas for topics you hear outside of the wrestling, or if it's wrestling, anything you want to hear, hit us up on the Gmail, hit us up on our socials, Once at Pod, Facebook, TikTok, TC,
that's the one.
TikTok, Facebook and Instagram at Once at Pod, so give us a follow if you haven't yet. And if you guys are watching for the first time, my name is Anthony Irvin, and always here with my brother, best friend, Jim Green. Buddy, you have anything to say before we get out of here?
No. I mean, thank you everybody for tuning in, and thank you for spending another Monday night with me.
Absolutely.
With as busy as I've been in the past 2 weeks, just getting ready for the move and the recitals and stuff, it feels like it's been over a month since we've been together, even though it's really only been a couple weeks.
Yeah, and at least you've been really busy the last couple months, leading into your recitals. But it seems like now, like, okay, you can kind of calm down. This is like your summer months now. Like, you'll kind of be able to have a little bit more relaxation time, a little bit. If I'm, on the right end of that a little bit, it seems like summers are a little bit not as hectic, so you can kind of have a little bit of breathing room after the recitals.
Yeah, it just
until the fall.
It depends, because like for recital season, once those projects are like 80% built, like into early April, for the most of them, there were a couple that wrapped up a little bit later than I wanted them to, but they still did well. The creative end of it, like the conceptualizing, like the music's already there, right? So it's really just driving the movement to make it make sense with the music. I do have Beat Addicts, which a lot of those routines are at like the 60% mark creatively. Like all of that music's there. It is tying in movement, but then there's a lot of like we have to navigate lighting, which our lighting tech sheets are due soon. We don't actually put kids in formations for the most part until like the week before the show. We do a big camp situation. And that's hectic because you're trying to navigate staging a lot of your stuff. But it always turns out really fine, and like it's always a fun experience. I love working with that company just because it isn't the same as teaching at a dance studio every week and building towards recital routines and training. It's not really training. It's just teaching. Kids get different choreographers that they don't normally work with, so they have to work towards, bringing the creative process to life from other choreographers that they're not necessarily used to working with. So
for sure,
it's just a whole different dynamic. But once that wraps up, I will, somewhere along the way in the month of July, I will probably be starting new projects at the Maryland studio that I do competition stuff for. So that'll be a whole slew of like, okay, I'm working with these kids, these type of dances, and then finding music that makes sense for them, and then just doing its more creative conceptualizing like the themes and the tone of the piece, getting the proper music, and then going in and trying to explain it to them and scheduling with them. It's tough just because it is a commute for me to get there, and during the school year I can only get there on the weekends. So there were projects that I started last July that didn't get wrapped up until like January, just because of how the scheduling worked out. I'd go there were a couple projects where I went maybe 3 months and didn't rehearse with them just because the availabilities didn't make sense.
Right.
But any rate, that studio particularly, I will likely have a handful of new projects that I'll be starting. If not, I think last year I might have started at the end of June. I think I definitely was started by the middle of July. So I'd say in the next month. So just creatively speaking, like that does take up some time because you have to actually sit and try to do music research to find something that fits and makes sense. But yeah, finishing up recital routines, it's a daunting task when you have a lot more recital routines. Like this year, I just happened to have more recital routines than last year. So it was just a little bit heavier of a load when it came down to finishing them up to get them stage ready. But yeah, the summer does overall tend to feel like a little bit lighter of a workload. So it is nice having moved in here and adjusting to living in the new space, and the workload now being a little bit lighter. So I'm looking forward to that and getting settled into the new humble abode in the next couple months. And then by the time I start back to like my regular teaching routine in September, I think I'll be a little bit more I'll definitely be more adjusted to like, hey, this is like
absolutely
where I live. It still kind of feels like I'm on extended vacation, especially I've been back to my parents' house like quite a few times just because I'm still going through some of my stuff and bringing more stuff back to here. Once we have what we bring here organized and we're like, okay, now we have more room to bring more things in here.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's getting there. We gotta hang some wall decorations and things like that. But it's very livable. We're enjoying ourselves. And
that's great, man.
Thank
I'm
you
proud,
for
proud and glad you guys are having a great time with that stuff, man.
Yeah, and always appreciative of your support, and my journey better than most. So it's been a long time coming to get here, and this is just one milestone. And then when we're ready to start navigating the next one, then we'll be on our way to that one.
Yeah, man. Well, thank you guys for tuning in for another one. This has been One Set. We will see you all next week for another episode. Peace, guys.
All the love.